Hello, everyone. Welcome to the monthly masterclass for July. My name is Kelly, and I am the host of Social School, the host of this workshop, founder of Social School, and I'm so glad to see you in here. We have people joining us live on Zoom. We have others that are watching this on our broadcast on YouTube, and we have plenty of you who will be watching this as a replay after the fact in Social Club or on our other channels. So welcome, Diane, JC, Liz, Chris, Kramer. I see Jim, Jason, Christina, lots of you. Thank you so much for being here. We are missing you guys a lot as we've shifted into our Q3 social club kind of plan and our monthly topics and our less frequent master classes. We're not seeing you live as often, but we're certainly conversing with you plenty in our private channels, social channels, membership club. It's been great. We're asked all the time, are we going to have live events again? And I just finished saying to someone, I sure hope so. We look forward to the day where we'll go back to our larger conferences and regional workshops and, live campus events again. But with COVID, we also had a silver lining in that many of our students became more international. And so that's really exciting for us and nice to reach a broader audience through our virtual programming. And so we're still not totally sure if we're going to maintain sort of a local campus or if it makes more sense to have larger events where we can meet up with each other, come together in real life at a broader kind of conference environment. Either way, we appreciate your support as always, and we're here to return it as much as we possibly can for you. I have to tell you, we are putting the finishing touches on our August theme and content and classes right now, and that's all about paid reach. So for any of you who've been asking for, help, support, insights into creating proper audiences, boosting your content, running killer ad campaigns on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. This is it. This is like, we're unveiling 3 new courses on August 1st called Audience Mapping, Paid Social, which is mostly about boosting and promoted content, and then ad campaigns, which is a big one, where we go deep into retargeting and sophisticated campaigns, plenty of placements, all sorts of things. So I encourage you to check in August frequently, and hopefully we can start to see you run some strategic, affordable campaigns that actually build your reach, grow your following, and start to see some returns. We've been talking a lot about organic content and quality content over the last few months. And, at the end of the day, we're living in a pay-to-play space. So the more that we can strategically add some dollars or some strategic spending to our posts, the better. And we can do this for $100 to $200 a month even, unless you've got more to play with, which is always fun too. Okay, so without further ado, we are talking SEO. And as you've heard us say a lot this month, this is not necessarily the topic that we all feel super jazzed about. But that's the reason that we really started to try and debunk it and make it more familiar and approachable a few years ago when we started launching our search engine optimization classes, and we incorporated it into our digital marketing certificate program. 2019 saw us create a Simplified SEO Lab, which is part of our 360 series. It's a 60-minute, 6-part lab that is full of actionable, very attainable SEO steps that anyone can do in-house. And throughout this month of July, what we did is take that course and turn parts of it into our downloadable resource, which you probably saw. It's on our homepage, but it also lives within our resources section of our rocket fuel page, which you can find on our website. It's right in the footer. Get some rocket fuel, and it takes you to all of our freebie resources and downloads. And the July freebie was this Simplified SEO Roadmap. Within that was a step on keywords. And this is such an important one because, once again, anyone can wrap their head around better keywords. The words of our site, what we're doing, how we're using them, where we're placing them in our content offsite and on our pages on site in order to be found by search engines. It's not that complicated, but it gets overlooked like crazy. And then we wonder why we don't show up in search. So we're going to talk about the science behind it today, and then we're going to get right into mapping better keywords, how we find them, where we implement them, and what we're going to do to continue growing our keyword game going forward. So without further ado, let's get in there. I'm going to share my screen here and just get, get right at it. Here we go. Let me just see if I can get there quickly. And if you have any questions as we go, please type them into the chat. I will certainly keep an eye on it. And of course, bring them to Social Club after the fact too. If you want to further the discussion, clarify anything, that's our office hours Q&A community support platform. So you know us as Social School. Our Social School Academy is growing every month. We're adding more courses to it. We've got plenty of bite-sized now labs and toolkits, which are coming online all the time. There's 18 new courses called the 360 series, and Simplified SEO is one of those. So we hope that they can continuously grow your game, keep you as a lifelong learner that is not afraid of digital marketing and is on top of the platforms and all of the different features within them. We do the homework, we test them out, and then we turn them into training for you as fast as we can in the most actionable, easy to implement way we can. It's not just like textbook learning. It is executable training. So our social club, which hopefully you're a part of, is our free community. And this is what we've taken off of Facebook groups into a forum where we can collaborate, create accountability, support, knowledge share, etc. It's really fun. I encourage you to find us at community.socialschool.io. There's events all the time like this one. There's more and more collaboration and plenty of fun for all of us, especially isolated marketers wherever we find ourselves today, and business owners too. And then Social Market finally is our freelancer marketplace. This is where I always tell people to go to if they still need support. So you've learned the lay of the land, you understand SEO, you can speak the language, but you still need to outsource or hire some kind of piece of your digital marketing program or your modern day communications. And that's great. This is exactly where we have built a platform to play matchmaker between especially small businesses, but large organizations too, and the talented freelancer community that's out there looking for work and looking to support and grow these people's businesses. Whether it's launch your Shopify website, get your ads off and running, or take better photos, you will find incredible people at socialmarketplace.io. And if you're a freelancer yourself or a contractor, by all means, join the ranks. You keep 100% of your work and your revenue. So quite simply, we're obsessed with giving you the tools. I left agency side a decade ago to say, hey, none of this is rocket science. None of this should cost a fortune. I want to empower people with the skills and tools they need to do this themselves. And that's what we've tried to do. As I mentioned, many of the things we're talking about today come from our Simplified SEO lab. It's pretty simple. It's got 8 ranking factors that we talk about, all of which are doable, understandable, and absolutely within your capabilities. We're talking mostly here about number 4, keyword backbone. And that is the clear and relevant keywords that appear or need to appear across our site, on our page titles, on our page descriptions, on our image tags or the names of our images throughout our site in order to help Google or any other search engine find us and serve us up when queried. So the whole idea here, no matter what piece of SEO we're talking about, is that we're building sites that are designed for users, you and me, Joe Blow, public, Jane Blow, not a spider, not a machine, not an index or a bot. That's sort of SEO of the days past. And it's why it used to be a sort of digital marketing realm that was reserved for coders and developers, and we'll call them experts in SEO, because they understood the language of the back end or of the indexing that Google and other search engines implement, where they're crawling every single site, pulling out certain keywords and certain pieces of copy. And it was easily kind of gamed. People could create these black hat sites or these jammed pages full of keywords that were nonsensical and they weren't actually useful for human beings. But now Google has caught on to that. It's smarter than that. And it wants to reward and serve up websites to the general public search person that actually makes sense, that is a really high quality, high performing, quick loading, mobile friendly, compelling website that does the job. And it's exactly what that person was hoping to land on. That's what Google's going to reward, and that's what we're aiming for. So the ultimate goal here is not just to rank number one, page one, top spot. Yes, that's wonderful. But really what we're doing is trying to generate leads and sales for our business. Otherwise, what's the point of ranking number one? And if you get there and they are able to find your site and click on it quickly, we sure as heck better hope that when they get to our site, it's what they're looking for. And that's a whole other realm that we could talk about for days, and we do in our website courses. But this is about being found in search. Once you've built that beautiful, clear, compelling site, how is it that you're going to appear? So some of the ranking factors that we can all wrap our heads around, again, they're certainly covered in a lot of our courses, but let's talk about the science behind it. When a search is made, the search engine, let's go with Google because it's the largest one in the world, next to Bing, and then there's Yahoo, which are 2 and 3. The search engine is scanning an index of all the web pages on the internet at all time. And it's looking for content related to that person's search, whether it's physiotherapy, dog training, top restaurants for kids, whatever. Content is gathered by web crawlers at all times. It's constantly being crawled, all of our websites, and then it is automatically stored. So that's kind of what the search index is storing from your website is a site map and the contents within it, which is kind of crazy because there's a lot of contents on the internet, but that's exactly how it works. So while it's sort of, yes, it's seemingly daunting and a little bit more sciencey than some of our front end artsy content and you know, beautiful, compelling social feeds, it's a misconception that it's far too complicated for us to understand. It's not. What we're doing is overcomplicating our websites and our SEO programs or, you know, efforts that really don't need to be you know, overdone or overthought. We just need to go back and revisit what we have given Google as part of our search engine index and clean things up a little bit. So myth number one here is that SEO is reserved for a select few, and it's the area of your marketing strategy that should in fact be outsourced to a genius. Not true. Myth number two, it will take an unknown amount of time for you to improve your search rankings, and it'll cost a small fortune to get there, and that someone's going to need at least 6 months in order to maybe rise you up to page 3. It's just not true. We can actually do things, especially in our Google My Business page, or just some simple title changes or meta description changes on our pages that can have immediate positive results in our rankings, and that we can see, you know, almost actually in the moment you publish or change your Google My Business page, which is really cool. Or if you want to get a little more sophisticated, we can use a tool called Google Search Console, go in, adjust our index or feed it our index, so we don't actually have to wait for Google to crawl our site and make changes to the index. We can feed it to it directly, and by tomorrow, your search engine results page will look different. Myth number 3, we cannot effectively execute this in-house. As I've already said, yes, we can, and we don't need expensive tools to do it. Just like every other realm of digital marketing, there's plenty of apps, tools, software, third-party programs that can help us. We are going to look at a few today, but they have free tools within them that are fantastic, and you don't need to run some expensive, you know, SEO tool that has a monthly subscription fee in order to make gains. You can do it yourself. You just need a plan. So we're going to talk about 2 big areas today. The first is tags, titles, and descriptions, so we understand them a little better, and then we're going to go into keyword mapping. So what are they? Well, they're part of the HTML programming language that's used to add formatting and functionality to our sites. And again, it's used almost exclusively. This is because Google doesn't have eyeballs. It has crawlers that can read text and words, ones and zeros, not actual imagery and pictures or beautiful banners, colors, and fonts. It just wants the data. So in order to be seen properly and for them to clearly understand, or for it to understand who we are and what we're doing, we have to have a really organized sitemap and HTML content. We don't have to be a coding expert, however, we just have to see what it can see and then clean it up. Speaking of what it can see, well, here's a typical search engine results page. We call this the SERP. And if you were to Google something very basic, like the word oven, Not only are you at a very informational or early awareness building stage of your search journey, probably, you're like, oven, what's an oven? Where do I find one? Is there any news about ovens? It's not like you're saying where to buy a, convection oven. So Google's serving you up some very broad results. You've got organic results, not even any ad results yet. You've got some Wikipedia style, you've got some image results. What it's doing is giving you some very high level basic results so that you can click on something and it can drive you further into the research and transactional stages of your search, really getting you to your goal. But when we look at these results, I want you to notice sort of what's happening on each of them. Each listing in the search results page will generally have a title tag. So that's the title of the page. It'll have what's called a meta description, or the description of what that page contains, both of which are fully in our hands to edit and change and customize. And then it'll often have header tags. So this is where you'll see sort of even more detail within a page result of things that are called out as titles and subtitles on our page. So let's say that was a blog post, the one with the header tag, 10 best senior ice hockey skates 2018 review from Honest Hockey. Well, we know it's on Honest Hockey's page, but it's also written as a blog post. It's a gear review, but it's a blog post. And within that blog post, the title, we'll call it a header, that says, here are the best hockey skates to buy in 2018. This is going back a ways. Would have been an H1. That means your header 1 font. It's not it's not the blog title or the page title that comes above it, but then you've got H1, header 1 font, then the header 2 or your subtitle, and then H3 or just body copy. So if you follow what I'm saying, your headers and your design of your pages not only have an aesthetic or eye-pleasing view when we read them. As we all know, a magazine article broken up with headers and subheaders and different fonts can make it easier to read versus a big long block of text. But it also serves as a tool for Google to know what's most important on the page. After that title tag of that page, they're going to scan for H1s. I keep calling it a person there. It's going to scan for H1s. Then it's going to scan for H2s, then H3s. So it's important to use different header tags or headers on your page or your blog posts, and as well to name your image. So that skate right there would do really well if it was also loaded up beforehand, not called JPEG 1249, but Bauer Supreme S140 hockey skate, and then maybe a dash or a line, honesthockey.com. So that image has lots of juicy keywords in it that both relate to the title of the website and the title of the blog post or page. So just a little bit behind that. There's more here for you if you like. I'm going to breeze through this a little bit, but again, title tag is the title, a page title. Most important thing that a search engine will see when searching. And when it's crawling our sites in general, it wants to know, well, what are your 4 or 5 or 6 most important pages? And you might have a 22-page website, which isn't that big when you think about some of your products or service pages or whatever. It might be a 14, 15-page website, doesn't matter. That's where we can go into Google Search Console and say, serve up these 4 pages or page titles before the others as well. But that's a little bit of a next step process. Bottom line right here, we want to make sure that our page titles are named really well. And they're just plain clear, just like you can see there. So give each page title a unique tag or name. Include branding if you can, like the name of your company at the end of the page title. There's some sample formats for you if you'd like. Keep them short so they're not totally cut off. And then just consider the readability, and bonus points if you can also consider the emotional impact of that title. Like, does it actually resonate? Does it make me want to click it? Because that's what I'm going to see when I see you in the search results. The meta description. This is like if you had to give each page a tagline or a little advertising copy to go with it. What the heck is that page about? Give it a description. And you can go into whether you have a WordPress site or Squarespace, Shopify, Kajabi, it doesn't matter. You can customize the description of every single page just like you can the page title, of course. This is built-in basic SEO features within your website. You don't just have an overarching description of your entire site. you have the ability to customize the description of each individual page, and it's a really good idea to do so. So separate descriptions, I really encourage you, we're going to see a sample spreadsheet at the end where you take your 6 most important pages, you note the title of them, and you write the meta description, and you see that they're different, and then you copy paste them onto each page. You'll see the keywords you're using. You'll see if you can even create a little bit of an emotional connection. I'm going to read one for you. So let's say I land on, I'm Googling something about goat cheese recipes. And I see this listing from Discover Goat Cheese on Canadian Living's website. You see how they've titled their page with the name of the blog or article, and then the name of their company. So learn about this mild flavored cheese, light, versatile, and good for you, plus 4 fab recipes. Short and sweet, super compelling, clickbaity in a good way, makes me want to click. And it's saying to me, I can learn something from this and I can get 4 great recipes. I should absolutely click on this link. Next up, those header tags. As I mentioned, these are the content of each page, and you're going to want to double check that your H1, H2, H3 fonts are in the right order and that you're using them correctly and frequently. You don't want to have your entire page written in H3s, just like you don't want to have your entire page written in just plain paragraph or body copy, because it's going to possibly show up in that featured snippet. That's an extended search engine results page listing. You've seen them. Let's say I Google Lululemon right now. I'm going to see, in fact, I'm going to do it. Let's say I say Lululemon, just broad search. I'm going to expand my window here for you. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be shown a number of ads, but in the search result here, I get a rich snippet. This is what this is, where it's showing me their 6 most important pages. That's what I'm talking about. And here's their main parent website name, and then the meta description of the site. And here's a page title and a description of that page. So these are all, as you see, the space is limited, but they're all really important pages that they're saying to Google, yes, you can crawl those and serve those up first in our rich snippet. A lot of us don't get those. If I Googled, I don't know, I'm going to say 9th Avenue Auto. I think that's a place by me. I'm going to guess, oh, they went out of business. Bad choice, Kelly. Let's say Inglewood Drive-In. Cute little restaurant. Inglewood Drive-In. Here we are. It's spelt interestingly. So they do not have a rich snippet. That can be for a number of reasons. Their site is not fully indexed by Google. They haven't optimized it enough for SEO, and they probably haven't gone into Google Search Console to help it out a little bit, to say to Google, hey, here's my index. It's just 10 pages. These are the 6 most important ones I want you to crawl. And they'll tell you in Google Search Console how to pull the index off your site. It's not hard. You can use a tool for this. It takes 30 seconds. Then you upload it back into Search Console, or you can wait for it to happen over time. But bottom line, if our pages individually aren't optimized, then we're going to have less of a chance of having a rich snippet. Why, you ask? Do they have that search result on the right side that's showing their Google My Business information? Because they have a Google My Business page. And that's as simple as that. This is our local SEO tool. You go claim that GMB page, you give it the information it wants. It'll take you 2 hours to flesh out your categories, business description, hours, location, some imagery if you can, answer your reviews, and if you can, upload some products and services. And voila, you will have this wonderful additional sidebar here that's going to give people more information on your business. This is where they've even done little Google My Business updates. It doesn't have to be major. They're not doing them very often, but that's okay. At least they're doing them. Another example of this that I love to look at is Chuck's Steakhouse in Banff. Chuck's Steakhouse does a great job of updating their Google My Business page and giving people the information they need as a restaurant who's navigating their COVID reopening, and then also doing regular updates that are just like a Facebook post, where they're posting events, discounts, promotions, reviews, any kind of image-based post like you'd post on Facebook or Instagram serves perfectly as a Google My Business update. So really cool. Little sidebar there on local SEO and how we are actually showing up. Okay, back to our keywords here. So header tag guidelines, keep in mind that you just want to, again, be using them in the right ways on each page that you can of your website. It's pretty simple, just a reminder. Finally, a little bonus here is the image tagging. This is so important, again, because so many of us go to Google, like the lazy modern humans that we are, and I say steakhouse, image search, and I'm going to look for juicy steaks. Or I say, dog trainer, image search, and I want to just see, maybe it's logos, footage, reviews, whatever it is. I want an image-based result that is going to help me decide what I want and not have to go and dig and read it. I get to be served it up as a video, image, GIF, etc. I'm lazy. So if we're not tagging our images properly, we're not going to show up in those very common, ever-increasing image-based searches. If you have a program like WordPress, or that's your website host, you have maybe more options when it comes to optimizing each image. You can give it a caption, alt text. That's what the crawler is going to see, which I usually just use the same as my image title, but it's important to fill it out. You can also give it an image description if you want Google to have even more juice about what that particular image is about. And if you don't have all those options, but you just name it beforehand when it's in your files or on your desktop, great. That's a really good start. So part 2, the keyword mapping process. This is where we are going to be talking about assigning the keywords that we need to specific web pages on our site that differentiate those pages and that give Google that much more to work with, so that every page doesn't have the exact same, again, title, meta description, and keywords. We can do a lot more here. So this is how this is something that we want to map out and maybe put it into a spreadsheet if you can. That'll be really helpful. And I've got some suggestions for you there. So keyword mapping. This was, if you recall, in our 10 simple SEO tips, or the Simplified SEO Roadmap this month that we made available. It's on our homepage, but if you need the link, it's right there. So within this was the idea of 10 simple, easily accessible and implementable tips. But number 2, I believe, number 1 was keywords. So why do we say they hold the key? Well, again, because the search engine operates on the language of HTML, the bits and bots and ones and zeros that it can read, like, words and letters. So what is a keyword? Don't be thinking it's just one singular word. It's actually 2 to 5 word phrases that a user would type in generally into a search query. And how, we show up with those search queries depends on how much competition we have for those same keywords. A long tail keyword, as you may have heard, is a longer search demand term that falls sort of further down the curve of less search volume, monthly, weekly, whatever, and then a higher probability of conversion because of its specificity. So, well, I'll give you an example in a minute. A short tail keyword, on the other hand, is no more than 2 or 3 words maxed, far broader, far more competition, less chance of click conversion, showing up. So running shoes, for example, nice short tail keyword, you're going to have lots of competition and a huge amount of search results. While best women's running shoes for summer, Alberta, for example, is a long tail keyword search that you could rank really high for if you optimize a page properly for that. In fact, imagine if you wrote a blog post called "The Summer's Best Women's Running Shoes for Rocky Mountain Trail Running," or even shorter than that, "Best Women's Summer Running Shoes 2021. Great. You're going to rank high if that is the title of your blog post, because you're going to have the exact match when someone searches it. So this is how we build our SEO in a really powerful way. It's not just about our page titles and descriptions. It's about the content that we place all over the internet that's using those keywords, search terms, and the higher traffic, high volume, really integral ones to our business. We have to know what people are searching for, though, before we start jamming them onto our website. This is known as keyword jamming. It's important for us to guide search engines to our site, yes, but it shouldn't come at the cost of usability for the average viewer or visitor to your website that's like, what kind of technical BS is this? I don't even understand the language they're speaking here, because they're just trying to please the search engine with a whole lot of words. That's no good. It doesn't work anymore. you will be penalized. We want to create value for users, not just web crawlers. And this is where I'm going to tell you that other ranking factors that Google pays attention to beyond keywords and programming language are dwell time. How long do people stick around on your site? In other words, is it good? Load speed, mobile friendliness, other kind of domain authority ranking factors, like where you rank elsewhere on the internet with your social feeds or your Etsy page or whatever else it is. How prevalent are you? And then links. How many people are linking to your site from theirs and vice versa? So do you have domain authority that's being built in multiple ways that is also going to play into where Google serves you up? So again, it's not just about winning the keyword game. However, it's a really important piece of the puzzle. So working backwards here, the research side of the keyword puzzle is the practice of identifying those terms that search engine users are entering when they're looking for exactly what you have to offer. They just don't know it yet, or they've never heard of you, so they can't type in Lululemon. They're typing in black yoga pants, or, physiotherapist near me. So we need to understand the questions, the pain points, and the solutions that people are experiencing and that they're looking for before being able to implement those words and phrases onto our site or into our web content, our social content, etc. And if we do it regularly, so it's not just a one-off thing, we're continuously doing the research side, not just the keyword implementation, we are really going to serve ourselves up in search and do ourselves a favor long term. Search queries evolve. Remember that, as does your place on the internet. So you've got to be aware of how different search queries change throughout the year, even seasonally. The volume and competition does the same thing. And then also, so does your customers' needs and your offering. So you can't just build it and they will come and hope that they'll show up and understand what you've just put onto your website. You've got to, of course, put it out there on social and promote what it is you're offering. You've also got to program the back end so that Google can find you too. So we're going to go through 4 different tools that we can use here to help us on that research and mapping piece. The first one is the freest, most general must-have tool in your SEO and website toolkit, and that is Google Analytics. And so many of us think we have our Google Analytics set up right, and we think we're checking it often, but really we're just kind of checking in on like page views and traffic. And that's great, but there's so much more to it that is far more powerful than that. It's like paying attention to just likes and follows on Instagram. What about engagement and click-throughs and tap forwards and backs and views and all the things that mean people actually care what we're showing them, not just they found it, they clicked it, they left. So when we look at behaviors, audiences, and acquisition in Google Analytics, we really get somewhere. But for these purposes, we're going to look at the acquisition overview and then channels to see where we fall in organic search. And I'll take you there live. So if I'm in my Google Analytics and I'm looking basically at, again, that kind of home screen, I head on in, I head on into not audience, but acquisition. And I can see some pretty cool stuff here. Remember, acquisition is where are they coming from? Audience, who are they? Behavior, what are they doing on my site? Where are they bouncing? Where are they falling off? What are they like? What are they not? But acquisition, where are we getting them from? And it's really neat to see a breakdown, for example, of new versus returning, but also the channels. This is so cool. And the dream is that we don't have to have any paid campaigns running, and that it's really truly coming from organic search, because we're that well optimized that when anyone needs anything to do with us, there we are, we show up, and then they love our listing and they click. So we want to see that grow over time, and we want to be able to go into it and see more about it. The only problem with that, with Google Analytics, is that they shim a whole ton of the data. And this came about as a result of a class action lawsuit that's privacy related, where unfortunately now of our search queries, we are not able to see what they are. We used to be able to go in and see that it was like, well, we could see every single search term people were using when they were finding our site. And that's no longer, the place to go is no longer here for that. But I will say that it is important to still understand and go in and see your referring traffic sites, the difference between the different channels If you're running any kind of campaigns, like for example, a Facebook campaign here, this is the name of my ad set for the website launch lab, drove 462 views or users, just certain things. The percentage between mobile versus desktop traffic, new versus returning visitors, as I mentioned, lots of important stuff here. If you're utilizing Google Search Console, this is a shortcut to it, and it's going to tell you all sorts of information about how those landing pages are performing. Countries, devices, etc. Some really cool stuff here. The last one I'll show you is user flow, because I keep mentioning bounce rates and dwell time as an important ranking factor. And this is where we can see where we're losing people, how far they're making it through. And, developing our own kind of anecdotal analytics about all of these things as well. I don't mind that people are falling off at our third interaction, because they used to have to get to 12 interactions before they could check out. And as a result of that, we tightened up the entire user journey to get people places faster. So it's a constant iteration, but you can't get anywhere unless you first are paying attention to some of that data and some of those very baseline things. I always encourage people to come up with 3 to 4 metrics that they pay attention to in Google Analytics that they're benchmarking, even just for that 6-month period. Just name 3 or 4 things that you care about, and watch those and make changes to improve those, and then choose some of the other hundreds of metrics that you can watch. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is called Moz. And Moz is really neat because it's just moz.com, and it is a host of SEO tools. It's not only got fantastic articles and information on better SEO. You can create a Moz Pro account and have tons of tools at your disposal that will constantly be giving you insights and ideas on how to better SEO optimize your site, or search optimize your site. But for us, we're going to go into free tools. Now, I created a free account, so you may want to do that, or you're not going to get very far. I hate to say it, but it is, like I said, a free account. They just want your email address. And we're going to go into Keyword Explorer. This is pretty cool. I could go in and do a whole bunch more cool things here, a whole bunch if that's good English, including see how my site is performing. But again, I just want to go straight into that keyword research area for now. So what we're trying to do here is, again, understand the right keywords that we can use to so-called make or break our site. And I'm just going to choose something today, some of my past searches. I'm going to do one for real estate, search keywords. And there's a few choices in here, but there's many suggestions that it can tell you that are, being often searched. You can drill down into your area. So for example, I can go right into, for me, Canada, analyze, and I can sort of get a better idea on some of the keyword suggestions and what the monthly volume is of that exact search query or keyword. And so I can see here 2,540 people searched real estate license in Canada across, what time frame am I in here? I need to be able to update that as well. I think I need to go into full analysis for that. In fact, I'm going to go into this cool little keyword list sample here. So this one was for a long tail keyword search of geeky toys and gadgets. Well, let's see the entire report on this. If I'm wondering how that search term is going to do, or that industry or realm, I can sort of see all the different pieces here. Difficulty, I can learn about the difficulty score. So how easy or difficult is it for you to rank higher than your competitors here? And that's kind of awesome. If you want to show up kind of in that 50th percentile, great. We can learn what's going to do the trick in that realm, or I can go deep into what is going to really get me to page 1. What is the harder route, the harder keywords to choose that are probably far more broad. Organic click-through scores. So, the clicks or click-through rate available to those links in the SERP, and when other features are competing, and just how that score is affected. So lots of different stuff here. Let's look at that first keyword, Android geeky gadgets, in this realm of geeky tools and what was it? Geeky toys and gadgets. Android geeky gadgets had a monthly search volume of 5, difficulty of 56, so that's not too bad. And then a click-through rate that's pretty high because it's quite specific. Where do I score in there? I can see. Apple Geeky Gadgets, awesome gadgets. I'm getting lots of information here about just sort of those highly queried terms. I don't know what Brookstone is, but it must be some kind of store that sells geeky tools and gadgets. So you get the picture. It's really fun to go in and start to see. You can also explore by site if you want to type in your own site. So let's say I said, now I don't know geeky tools and gadgets, so I'm just going to say instead, remax.com. Is that a site? Ranking keywords. Wow, 429,000. It's ranking in top position for 29,000 keywords in this real estate realm, which is really impressive. Remax.com is coming up number 1. Remax Realty number 1. So difficult for someone else to give them a run for their money. The monthly volume of that exact keyword is so high. So we're probably not going to have that same success or result in our own domain specifically, but interesting to see your competitors and how they're doing. And then again, to start to see keyword suggestions for ourselves in that realm, according to whatever keyword we want to give ourselves or try out, I should say. Next up, one of the next tools that we're looking at here, let me just come back to our little deck, is a really fun site. You may have heard of it before. It is called Answer the Public. And this is where, if we're smart, we're going to be utilizing the exact search queries or seeing what they are, and then using those in our blog post titles. That is the easiest way to answer the public, is to turn that into a question or an answer for them. And so if we go into answerthepublic.com, and again, they're going to want you to create a free account, but it's not too hard. Or I think you get one search query for free. So if I discover what people are asking about, and again, I use that real estate, let's go there. And I said, I think I had Canada posted, and but I could change that to a different realm or region, I should say. And then I can see all the different kind of questions and queries that people are typing into Google on a regular basis. So in the where category, where real estate prices are dropping, where real estate Portland, where real estate is booming, where it's cheap. Let's see how real estate works in Canada, how real estate commissions work, how real estate investing works, how real estate make money, when real estate prices are expected to decrease, when real estate is pending, when real estate prices are expected to increase. So when real estate agents lie. So you could possibly create a blog post, what to do when your real estate agent lies. And maybe, as you'd see from Moz's keyword research, or what I'm about to show you, Google Keyword Planner, that's not a very high queried search term. There's not a lot of competition, and that you could rank very high if you chose to answer that very narrow, quite highly specific and contentious article, or if you decide to create a page called that. If instead you're choosing which real estate agent as a blog post title, article, page title, video that you put on YouTube, great, but you're probably going to have a lot of competition. It's going to have to be well trafficked, well positioned, shared, proliferated, promoted in order to get seen, and then you might rise up the ranks. So sometimes it's almost comical when people say, I can get you onto page 1. Well, just how specific is the search query that you're going to be getting me on page 1 for? Probably pretty specific, unless you're already really established. So just keep that in mind. It's as important to go broad as it is to go specific, and it can really start well by answering the public, your public, ideally. If you don't know what they're asking, this is a great place to start. But what we do in our blog writing classes or our content creation classes is start by asking ourselves like key questions that we're asked all the time. What are your FAQs repeatedly stating? What are the things that you feel like you're most clearly or most often clearing up as misconceptions about your business or your industry or your offering? Those can be fantastic springboards. Next up, the fourth and final one here is simply Google Keyword Planner. It's my absolute favorite. It is found, you can just Google Keyword Planner, and it's in Google Ads. So if you have a Google Ads account, you're going to be bumped right into it. If I go to Google Keyword Planner, I get to choose which account, or start a new account, and I'm brought straight into my Google Ads. And I can, of course, launch a campaign from here, but that's not our intention today. We're just going to use this tool for free as far as we can and develop some new really powerful keywords. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to say, start with keyword research. I can start with a website if I wanted to as well, but instead I'll try that again. Let's do real estate. And I'm in default Canada, but I maybe want to expand that. If I wanted to, I could by getting even more specific. Perhaps I want to say British Columbia. So now I'm not just trying to do my keyword research in Canada. I'm actually going to really narrow it down to BC. And I can also change the time frame. So I want to see actually how it was going. Well, I'm going to see what the search queries were from now through, the last 6 months. Oh, I went to 2020. That was an accident. I'm going to go there. Great. I can get, of course, more specific, and this becomes really fun to see how search queries are changing in the Christmas season, in back to school, in summertime, and not only see when you have bigger opportunity, but much higher competition. Goes without saying. What they're doing here is hoping that you're going to bid on these keywords and run Google Ads. And if you wanted to, you can do that no problem, because once you do the keyword research and you create your planner, you can easily turn that into a Google ad campaign. But you can also see what it's going to cost to bid on each of those words. And again, of course, that comes down to competition and time of the year. So if I go into my keyword planner with the word real estate, I can start to see all sorts of additional keywords I could add to that. So maybe I want to add in, property management. And I think it also said condos. I like that one. That's my bag. So I'm going to try and get a little bit more about that. And now I'm going to have some more specifics here. So the keywords I provided there, I can see average monthly searches in British Columbia are 10,000 to 100,000 for real estate, but property management, 1,000 to 10,000. So the lower or medium competition there. That's great. Why does it say that the competition is low for real estate? Well, even though there's that many searches, because there's that many searches. So they're still saying that even though it's a highly trafficked term or utilized query, there's still so much room to show up because of the number of queries. So don't be afraid. Don't assume that just because it's a popular keyword or a short tail, that it's going to be out of the realm of possibility for competition. And then, of course, I can see the top of paid bid on the low range versus the high. So if I wanted to show up in a Google ad at the top of the search query, that's one way to get yourself there. And it's often the best for new businesses or highly competitive industries. Not bad. 20 cents to show up on the top of page, or 50 cents if I bid somewhere in the middle. Remember that with Google Ads, you're only paying for click-throughs. So what a lot of people will do in their Google ad campaigns is just run highly competitive keywords. Like if I'm selling homemade black yoga stretchy pants, I'm going to bid on the word Lululemon, even though probably people, when they type in Lululemon, are trying to get to Lululemon, but I'm going to get all this free visibility because of the fact that I show up in that search. If I'm lucky enough, there's probably a few other people doing the same thing, but occasionally I'm going to show up in the search results right beside Lululemon's ad, and I won't get clicked on that much. So with Google Ads, you don't pay for awareness or reach. You only pay cost per click. That's different than Facebook and Instagram. So you get the idea here. I can add these if I wanted to. If I'm like, you know what, I really love these guys here. I'm going to add them to a group or a plan. And I can go in and again, create my kind of keyword plan. And then I can download the keyword ideas for myself if I wanted to. But you're not going to get those sort of specific keyword searches like you do in Answer the Public. You are, however, probably going to see some really great ideas that you hadn't thought of before for some of these long or short tail keywords that like real estate near me. That's a fantastic one to use. People are doing near me searches all the time. And that doesn't mean that we're creating page titles necessarily with car dealer near you, or I'm a real estate agent near you. How do I know that? But I am fleshing out my Google My Business page, utilizing my location and address so that in a geo-targeted search result or geo query like near me, I'm going to show up that way. So I really encourage you for that reason to not hide your address if possible. So yeah, you get the idea here. We can create all sorts of keyword maps from this tool, or we can just pull some ideas and create our own in a spreadsheet of some kind. I hope that that helps, and that you can go in and learn a little bit. I'm just going to use my own website here. If you want to do the start with a website tool instead, if I can remember how to type it out. It's always tricky to add the HTTPS. Use the entire site. Sure. Get results. So now I'm going to see more keywords than I would have on Google Analytics, unfortunately. However, these are not what people are using when they get to my site. They're just related keywords. So if I want to run with these and incorporate them into my pages, I'd be really smart to do so if they seem relevant. What's the best course for your digital marketing needs? Stick with us. We'll show you how. You could probably find 12 blog posts pretty quickly from these search queries. All right, we're reaching the end here, you guys. I want you to take this as far or as wide as you like. I really encourage you to step aside, put this in your kind of monthly or at least quarterly digital marketing calendar, and start to map out some changes that you can make on your website, and then some content that you can start to build. So a tool like this is dead easy. I mean, it's just a simple spreadsheet that's got like your page identification or, you know, the name of your pages. And I, again, encourage you to list your top 6 pages, but maybe you have 20 you want to list. What's the URL so that you're really clearly aware of the slug or the page domain extension that you're utilizing, because that also plays in to Google's indexing. If your homepage is called, or let's say your about page is called Get to Know Us Real Loud with dashes in between, Google can't read that. Even worse if there's no dashes in between, because that is not a word. Get to know us out loud. That was a weird example. But really, it should be /about, /products, /contact. Don't try to confuse things, because if someone writes social school contact page into Google, that's how they're going to find it. The title page, the name of the page. Then the keywords that you're using, maybe the page description, what kind of H1 tags are appearing on that page. You can have, of course, as many as you like, but I encourage you not to have maybe more than 5. Ditto for your H2s and H3s. And then the meta description. So what is that little soundbite that you're writing there that's written in English? It's not written for a bot. It's short and sweet. It doesn't get too cut off, as we saw with the example for Lululemon. We saw those page descriptions getting snipped. And then any recommended changes you can make. If you did this research or mapping process and then handed it off to someone in your organization or outsourced, or even just, you know, did it kind of in a bulk process, you're going to do really well. But it can be hard if you only just kind of do this here or there willy-nilly. I encourage you to take it on as a project. Next up, thinking about how you compare, how your SEO presence, you know, relates to others in your industry or people you might consider competitors. So I do in an incognito window so that your browser history isn't influencing the result. Do a web search using the most relevant search terms for your industry, either that you've just researched or that you know to be true. And then what are the top 3 results? What are you seeing these pages? Are they well-trafficked, long-standing sites, or are they new sites that have just optimized themselves really well? This is where it's easy. You can see that it is in fact possible to skip over some of those legacy long-standing sites that are confusing or not optimized and start to make a dent because you just know a thing or two about page indexing and sitemaps. So thinking about ways you can improve when you see that, what are the first 3 pages that show up when you search your business by direct name? Is it you, hopefully? And how are you showing up? I did this search not too long ago, and I saw that my rich snippet, my 6 pages that were finally showing up, some were caps, some were not, like all capital letters, and some were not. It looked ridiculous. And some of the pages that I didn't want Google to index were also showing up. So I had to go into the back end of those pages and tick a little box that says, make it a no search page by Google. And that was pages like the login page or a thank you page or some kind of other more private welcome page, perhaps, that I don't want to be the main search result pages. So what do you want users to see when they search for you? And not just pages or platforms, perhaps, as you're owning page one with your website, then your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page, your Instagram page, your Etsy page, whatever it is, that's amazing. Organically, if you can do that, amazing. That's the goal over time. But what else do you want them to see in terms of those meta descriptions or images or just little snippets of your business, no matter how and where you're searching? I'm doing an image search and I'm sitting here in Spain and I can see my business show up just the way I thought. Or I asked my cousin who lives in Russia to do a quick search for my company name and see what they see. Just remember that, depending on how local or global your audience or your customers are, it's going to make a difference how well you optimize your site. And then finally, what words and keywords really is your audience searching for in order to find you? So identify the ones that are associated with your industry, your location, and your product and your service, if you have all of those things. Or maybe it's your offering, your guarantee, your delivery time frame, or reviews. What is it that happens when I type in my business name and the word reviews, or my business name and the word price, something like that? And you'll start to see some things that you may not be super excited about, or that you might be really happy with, that you want to continue rising the ranks with. And then what are the most important keywords from the list that you identified, and what would you use to find yourself? Great. Those are the ones that you need to further implement into your content and your site. So remembering here that words matter. This is what we're using to give search engines, and of course those users of search engines, the info that they need and want. And I think that so many of us are overlooking this. We're creating really pretty websites or tons of imagery and videos on our sites, and not enough of those keywords that are so important. You guys know this when we talk about why there's no more Adobe Flash websites. Those were those ones 5-10 years ago that were all scrolling imagery and carousels and slider images, and they didn't have enough context for Google to know what the heck that website was about. So people are no longer building sites like that. And if they are very image heavy, you better believe that they're going to have a lot of content hidden behind that image so that the search engine still knows what that site's about. And search engine rankings are so important because, as we well know, most every single purchase begins with a search, a social search, a mobile search, a voice search. Those are even tighter than a desktop search. And so it can't be ignored because you've got a great Instagram feed. You won't be found when people actually go to purchase from you. And we all know you can't make a living, most of us, on a pretty Instagram feed that doesn't link to some kind of, revenue generating space on the internet. So if we want our site as a whole and individual pages too to be found for particular words, it's important to actually use those words in our copy, point blank. The stuff that people see on the front, and of course the stuff that they don't on the back end. I hope that was helpful for you, and I hope you're excited about keywords. You don't need thousands. You need like 100 great long tail keywords or ideas from which you can kind of distill down to 10 that you can start to implement here, there, and everywhere for the next few months, and then take the next 10 and go from there. Start to rank for the keywords you want to rank for. I promise you can do it. If you need more, that Simplified SEO Lab is a great place to start. And it's got a very robust workbook that has tons of examples to activate as well. There's also our search engine optimization course. That's the big one, based in the digital marketing certificate that's taught by Adam Volk, who is the lead SEO strategist at Critical Mass agency in Calgary. And they do work for their global agency. They do incredible stuff with Nissan and George Lucas and massive companies. And Adam knows about everything in SEO. The other thing, again, we'll see you in August for paid reach. We're going to be launching our 3 new courses on audience building, promoted content, and ad campaigns. And I hope to see you there. If you need anything at all, we'll see you in Social Club, and here for you anytime. Thanks, everyone.